Welcome back. This is a special segment of Niaga AWANI in conjunction with Invest Malaysia Iskandar 2024, and today we'll be delving into Malaysia's economic outlook, which continues to demonstrate remarkable resilience in the face of global challenges. Right, HSBC has recently forecast Malaysia's GDP growth to reach an impressive 5% in 2024 and slightly above consensus expectations, and with potential for even more upside. And this optimism stems for the country's strong economic performance, buoyed by a surge in foreign investments and promising outlook for trade, particularly in consumer electronics during the second half of this year. And of course, to shed more light on these trends and also what lies ahead for Malaysia, I'm honored today. Join me, Yun Liu, the ASEAN economist for HSBC. Yun Liu, thank you so much for being with us today. And of course, first of all, how does HSBC views the progress of Malaysia's recent economic, especially on the economic reforms done by the government, and also where do you see the country's economic trajectory heading in the near term?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as you rightfully mentioned, that we actually recently upgraded our GDP forecast to 5%. I think there's a lot of good momentum in Malaysia's economy we're seeing. I mean, for the first half of the year, we're seeing a lot of the resilience part in private consumption, domestic demand. But, for Malaysia, it's, such an open economy, very trade dependent. And everybody is wondering, when Malaysia is going to ride on that trade recovery cycle, which for now we're seeing at, a little bit at the nascent stage. But we believe that especially when the tech cycle comes in more and more, then we see that stronger boost to growth in the second half of the year. So I think for Malaysia this year and next year, we really see a lot of the positive momentum in the economy.
Maybe given the uncertainties, like global uncertainties, geopolitics, how resilient do you think Malaysia's economy maybe in comparison with other ASEAN countries?
I think Malaysia is in a good position. I mean, you're right, given all these uncertainties, nobody is alone to weather through the uncertainty. But I think for Malaysia, one advantage Malaysia has over a regional peers is really that the diversification of Malaysia's economy. I mean, especially if we look at, the composition of its exports, commodities, we're talking about semiconductors. If we look at trading partners, it's also very diversified. So yes, we have this uncertainty, but it's the uncertainty for everyone, which I think Malaysia has been doing quite a good job.
So meaning that it's not exclusive just for Malaysia, but it's
challenges for everyone, yes.
For everyone, okay. What are key opportunities maybe for Malaysia, especially in terms of moving forward and also with regards to economic reform that currently being done by the government, especially as it strengthen in especially in order to strengthen Malaysia's position in regional and also global position, and especially facing the economic challenges, as you mentioned before.
I think we are seeing quite a lot of the good reforms and the policies coming into play. One is I think the FDI story here, which Malaysia really has been an outperformer in ASEAN. If you look at FDI as a percentage of GDP, Malaysia has been leading the region for quite a long time. And I mean, and also bring back to that diversification question. It's not only about certain industry. Talking about semiconductors in Penang, we're talking about data centers. We're also talking about a lot about other emerging sectors in green transition, in green energy as well. So I think the FDI story is definitely one. The other part, I think, especially in terms of what investors have been looking for, which is the fiscal commitments, fiscal consolidation. So Malaysia aims to reduce its fiscal deficit, for since COVID, and then I think going to budget 2025, we expect that to be further consolidated. So I think it's really a combination of factors here, not only the policies but also the reforms.
Okay, are there any specific sectors that you believe Malaysia should focus on, especially to capitalize on future growth potential?
Well, I think E&E definitely one here. It's Malaysia has this powerhouse in Penang, but I mean we've been talking about Malaysia holds quite a significant position in the global tech supply chain. Malaysia holds like 13% of what we call ATP, so assembly, testing, and packaging. But I think more important for Malaysia is how to climb up that value chain, right? I think that's definitely one. The other thing, in terms of the emerging sectors, the green transition here, solar panel, renewable energy. I think there's still a lot of great potential. Construction sector, infrastructure, we also see quite a lot of momentum. So it's not only about specific sector. I think the good story about Malaysia this time is really the breadth of its economic recovery story.
I would like to narrow down a bit our discussion, especially in terms of the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone.
Since we're here.
Since we're here for the Invest Malaysia Iskandar.
Yes.
Okay, maybe what's HSBC view on the JSSEZ, and also how significant do you think this initiative is to fostering regional economic integration?
Well, I mean, it is quite significant. I mean, when we think about it, especially this is, cooperation between two countries. I mean, one comparison I can think about is the Hong Kong Shenzhen sort of corridor. So it kind of, resembles that in a way that, say, for example, Singapore has the capital, has the money, has the human resources, whereas Malaysia is very much abundant in its resources, labor force as well. So it's, about making the right move and trying to capitalize everybody's comparative advantage, and then you put everything together in one place and really fostering that ecosystem. So yes.
How can this zone actually can boost Malaysia competitiveness, especially in the context of ASEAN and particularly attracting foreign investment? How you foresee this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one thing is really about, the investment, right? The capital coming in, and which, I think Johor is already in a strategic position to do that, all this data center part. But it's not about only one particular industry. It's also about the associate industries that will bring, investors' money, investors' enthusiasm here. The other thing is also about, the talent here as well. So you cannot only have the money, but you need the talent, the workforce to support that. So which I think, it will gradually, moving in the right direction.
Maybe if I can add on in terms of the human capital development and also, as you said, experts and also how to integrate and challenges.
Yes.
How do you see, what kind of challenges that we're going to face, especially in this zone? And I think this is for the first time Malaysia and Singapore have like two countries special economic zone.
Right.
In terms of challenges that you see and how to overcome it.
Yeah, well, I think, not only in particular to the SEZ, but I think for Malaysia, some of the challenges or tasks that need to be tackled. One is definitely talent. It's not only about talent creation, it's also about talent retention as well. In terms of, creating that competitive workforce and actually attract all those, say, for example, overseas Malaysians to come back home and settle down here. I think that is one. And, it's also about, say, I think Malaysia aims to train about 60,000 skilled semiconductor engineers. So how do you do that? How do you partner with the big giants here? It's not only about textbook knowledge we're talking about, it's also about vocational training. So that we also need to take a holistic approach, and that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a long time. And the other thing I see is really the infrastructure part. You have all this money, people coming in, you need the infrastructure to support it. So we're only talking about, the connectivity here. I mean, RTS is definitely one. I'm very much, myself is very much, looking forward to that. But it's really, how to ease all this congestion along the causeway, and how to, especially for all these exporters, how is it make it more accessible for them?
Yeah, and I think when you said about human capital and experts, both countries, I mean Malaysia and Singapore, facing same issue, that is aging nation.
Yes.
So we are heading there, and the birth rate is like lower and lower, but the age, living age are increasing, right? So I think that is one of the challenge that need to face. I mean, both countries.
Right. Actually, a lot of the Asian countries face that problem. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Maybe your thoughts on this, because we need to overcome this issue, especially in order to make sure that we have the supply for experts and also skilled workers are there in our country. How do you see this issue, and also how to overcome especially in terms of aging nation that faced by ASEAN countries.
Yeah, I think it's probably, you know, it's sort of, or we have to embrace with this new normal in a way, right? But I think it really very much boils down to the transformation of industries. You know, maybe previously for a lot of countries, it very much focused on labor-intensive, you know, industry. But now with the aging population, but thanks to the technology development, that we can, you know, sort of shift to more capital-intensive industries that actually will support the society. So it's not only about the aging society itself, but it's also about what kind of policies to complement that, to at least mitigate some of the efforts, and what kind of, you know, the new industries can support growth.
Yeah. In the context of Malaysia, what policies or reforms do you think that maybe are essential for Malaysia to implement in order to overcome challenges, as we discussed, and especially in terms of attracting long-term investment? Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not an easy, you know, question. It's not like a button that you can press. I wish there's a magic button like that. But I think Malaysia has been doing a good job, and all these policies and reforms are moving in the right direction.
And I think that's a multiple approach, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Say, for example, you know, I think we've been talking about this FDI story, right? But I think really for FDI, you know, when a lot of people think, oh, it's probably about, you know, cheaper labor. It's not only about that. It's the cost effectiveness. It's not only about input. It's also about output as well. It's also about ease of doing business, you know, the climate for, investment climate for all these big investors. So you know, tax incentives might be one, but, you know, labor force, how skilled your labor force is. So things are very much confluence factors here, which Malaysia has been, you know, outperforming regional peers, which I expect Malaysia to continue on that path.
Yeah. Lastly, maybe your hopes and also your aspiration towards this, both, I mean, Malaysia and Singapore, with this special economic zone, and in the bigger picture of, I mean, like policies, like the topic today, where policies make progress. So it needs to come together, you know. So your aspirations towards the development of this southern region of Malaysia, how do you see?
Well, I see there's a lot of potential here. I mean, you know, we've been talking about this combination of capital that matches with the abundant resources, labor force in Malaysia here. So it should be a win-win situation for both countries here. But, you know, obviously we need to play the cards right, and with the right policies in place, and, you know, and we're not only talking about, you know, next year or next 5 years, we're talking about a long-term horizon there. So I think the policies implementation, the policies vision are quite important to make sure that this is a sustainable path.
Maybe like in short term, in 5 years, how do you see this special economic zone?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of hope for this, which I think it should be the powerhouse for ASEAN, and it also should be the gateway for, you know, a lot of the foreign investment that comes into ASEAN. And as I mentioned, you know, Johor is in a very strategic position, which we're starting to see all this, you know, progress coming through at the nascent stage. So I think for the next 5 years, quite promising.
So it's going to be a new competitor for Shenzhen, Hong Kong?
Well, I mean, you know, for Shenzhen and Hong Kong, over the weekend, there are a lot of Hong Kong people go across the border, which maybe, you know, in the next, maybe not in 5 years, then we'll probably see a lot more, you know, Singaporeans coming to Johor for a weekend getaway. Why not?
Thank you so much. And of course, we are waiting for the keynote by the Prime Minister. Maybe there's something going to announce. But
everybody has their eyes on. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Thank you so much, Yun Liu, ASEAN economist for HSBC. And of course, we look forward for this program, and also how Invest Malaysia bring forward, especially in terms of financial stress, and also how optimism and also overcome challenges, especially in a global landscape. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, baik, Niaga AWANI akan terus membawakan perkembangan lanjut dari semasa ke semasa.